Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Kyle on Tuesday, July 23rd. This is episode 119, the 3M Open preview with the Open Championship recap. Kyle, feeling good? Sounds like you just downed a few.
Yeah, we went to the local pizza place in the neighborhood here. Had a couple at dinner. I'm ready to rock.
They got a nice beer list there. I haven't been there in a long time, but usually it's pretty solid.
They do. The thing that gets me about their beer list, because they have 32 beers on tap and a bunch of local ones. There's some local IPAs that are like anywhere from like 650 a pint, and then there's one from Black Stack that we like to drink on the pod. That's 1150 a pint. I don't
Seriously?
understand. Yes, the
What is
local
it? Which one is it?
755.
750? Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
this is
that's kind of a
1150 a
ripoff.
beer. Yeah, they must charge a lot for their kegs. I don't get it, but I did
What
not
would
have
you
that.
have? Anything you want to comment on? I can share my beer right off the bat.
I had Bell's Two Hearted,
Ooh,
and
little
now
throwback.
yeah, well, yeah, I just wanted to change it up. So not super local, going Michigan, but then now I have a Fair State Pilsner. Had to lighten it up a little bit.
I kind of like I kind of like the idea of going with a more malty, caramely IPA, kind of traditional American IPA with dinner. Otherwise, like all the juiciness and fruit
Mhm.
flavored and all that in a big hazy IPA just kind of takes away from whatever you're eating. It's like a nice pizza. Um, it's kind of save the big IPAs for just when you're drinking them solo.
100%, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. I started to do that with more pilsners too. If I'm having one on pizza and movie night here at the household on Friday nights. Tonight though, I did pick a New England IPA from Junkyard. This is quarter pounder, and it is Citra and Mosaic hops. And quarter pounder, if you can see the can art, that's a little Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction and his Royale with cheese. They got a whole line at Junkyard that's all Pulp Fiction themed. I'm not sure why, but about
Including one
five, six
called Pulp
IPAs.
Fiction, right? Like,
Yeah, they got that. They got
yeah.
Vince Vega. They got Quarter Pounder. I think there's a Royale with cheese. But they're all really good. So if you do see a Junkyard Brewing out of Moorhead, anything with the Pulp Fiction characters, 8-bit Pulp Fiction characters is pretty solid. So we don't have Jordan at the moment. Maybe he'll come in. I wanted to get some intel on the member guest. All we got was a few text messages over the weekend, but probably the most significant thing I just still need to dissect is the injury that his driver had midway through the tournament, which he I think then blamed the entire performance of the team on inconsistency of driver play afterwards.
That had to be hard to work through. So between rounds two and three, Jordan's out grinding on the range apparently, and just breaks his driver. Not snaps it, just broke it at the head, right?
It was like the shell on the toe of the driver, like cracked off, and there was a huge hole in it. I haven't seen Jordan ever smash a club on the golf course, but what are the chances that it was in frustration?
Ugh, I don't think I have ever seen him get pissed before either, or take it out. I'm going no. I'm going. He's probably. You know what? So last time we were out at his club on the driving range, they have you packed in there, and as a not very confident swinger, I was uncomfortable on how close you are to the stanchions between the parties on the
Hmm.
range. Maybe he was talking away, not really paying attention, and just smacked one of the stanchions.
It does seem like it was just a very, my driver broke. No, I'm thinking there's something more to the story. We might never know. Let's
Yeah.
talk to him.
And maybe he'll
Yeah.
call in from the car on the way home. He's done that before on league night. This league night Tuesday, Jordan, he's just dragging it out this year. Last year he was always home in time. Maybe we had to start a touch later. This year he's just living it up, I guess.
Well, that's all right, Kyle, because on these nights when we have a lot to talk about, we can really get into the nitty gritty. And I want to get right into it. I want to get right into the Open Championship, the 152nd Open Championship won by Xander Schauffele in dramatic / not so dramatic fashion. But as we normally do after big golf tournaments, major championships, Ryder Cup, President Cup, that kind of stuff, I have the wheel of discussion topics. And so I am going to share that here for all of our loyal YouTube watchers, but mostly for you. So as I spin this thing, I got, I don't know, about 12, 15 topics on here, and you can see what we're going to talk about. Try to get through a few over the next few minutes. So here we go.
So
You
I
have not
haven't
seen
seen
these.
this
So
yet.
you're just
So
kind of
these are all
jumping right in.
live reactions.
Planes, trains, and automatic bogeys. There were some holes on this golf course that were just weirdly close to modes of travel. Like, did you see the shots of the airplanes landing at the Troon airport that was like 600 yards away? It's like 747s coming in right over the tee box.
Yeah, what was that? Was that 10?
Yeah, I guess I should have probably looked at exactly what hole. Yeah, I know. Do we got to take a break here?
Just coming in hot.
Coming in hot. Let's see if we can get Jordan into the conversation. But then obviously a lot is made of the railway hole, and just trains just going right by in guys' backswings. And 11 was almost an automatic bogey if you didn't hit the fairway.
Yeah, so Railway Hole 11, it was crazy. I loved watching it, but that would have just been awful for my ball flight. And then that wind off the left, that's just so hard, and especially on Friday afternoon, how I was playing, and you had to carry it. I mean, essentially, you had it. I think it was equivalent of 320 to carry 260 with the wind to fly the course on the right side. Otherwise, you had to start it way left and just let it naturally come over to the fairway. That's just torturous. And then there's no way. I step up there, for example, right? You just losing it with that train track there. It's just in your mind. Like Sam Burns on Sunday, just completely flew it right at the train.
Well, hang on to that thought about how you might play that hole. Maybe we split. We'll see if we get to that topic. But for Jordan, first of all, how'd you drive a break on
Hey guys.
on Friday? How did it break?
Hey guys.
How did it really break?
We have some theories here. We might have already thrown them out.
Just driving range. I wanted to hit a couple balls before my second round, so we're teeing off on 10, which is the sort of like almost drivable. You put it right up by the green. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a couple drivers in right before we go. Hit 2 just fine. Hit the third one and just sounded hollow. And
did you hit it with the side of the driver? Like
it just broke. Middle of the club face. Come on, Mike. You know I never hit the driver anywhere but the middle of the club face.
You do drive the ball so good. For never practicing. I'm actually surprised. The problem is you were practicing.
Yeah.
You just Brysoned it. You just flattened the club face.
But I was literally like trying to get a couple shots in right before I was supposed to be teeing off. So then I ran into the clubhouse, grabbed one of the assistant pros as I was going in. I was like, I need a new driver. And he was so confused at what I was yelling at him. And then I was like, give me a new driver that is semi-similar to this. Let's go. So I will say he put me in. All of their drivers were a lot higher loft than what I had. The demo ones. And so he put me in a max, which is like the forgiveness one.
Yeah.
I didn't. It looks different. I mean, I hit it fine. I didn't feel like I was getting nearly as much pop off of the face. So then tonight I got there for men's league and I was like, do you have any of the regular heads? And then we found a 12 degree that I turned down to a 10, even though I'd been playing at a 9 with my old one, but I did hit it better.
I have my loft set to 7.75. So if I was sit with a 12, there'd be no chance. I'm really surprised that they don't have more in the shop, but that's a tour van. I'm surprised there's going to be a tour van. This is a member guest. It's a big deal.
Yeah. So now I just hope. I've heard TaylorMade's pretty good about when clubs break. They just send you a new head. I just hope they don't send me the max because I'll be really annoyed because I don't want that shitty
Yeah.
Shitty club
Well,
head.
was it a good time? I know you guys didn't make the shootout, which a lot of people don't even really want to make the shootout. They just maybe want to win some cash some other way and have a good time. But
It
good
was
was a good event.
it was a good time. Yeah. I played okay. I didn't play great, which I'd been playing pretty well going into it. But I actually putted pretty good, which was, not normally my strong suit. Uh, but yeah, the one thing I couldn't that like 80 to 110 yards, Mike, killed me this week.
Oh, that's
I
what you
couldn't
always say.
I couldn't get it figured, but I'd been good. I'd been really good all from like 50 to 100, and I just couldn't get anything close. I had no gimme birdies all week.
Mm-hmm. Man, Kyle. Yeah, no gimme birdies. Tough life.
Yeah,
Tough life. Well, we're talking Open Championship. I'm guessing you didn't watch very much of that.
No,
but we'll see.
Not at all.
You probably you might have some takes. Kyle might have all the takes then. All right, Kyle. Chance of conditions. What I was thinking here was we've had some Open Championships recently where the conditions have subsided. Guys have destroyed the golf course. And we have others where, like this one, where the wind played a huge factor and it was really fun to watch some of the carnage. So are you in or out on a tournament that relies so much on weather being a factor?
Give me all the conditions. You have plenty of guys on the wrong side of the draw that still ended up there doing just fine. Russell Henley, for example. But it's not an Open Championship, at least without one day of crap, in my opinion. I mean, that's what makes Links Golf special, especially Friday afternoon. Dude's hitting a driver into a par 3 in the was that Friday or Saturday? Saturday afternoon. That's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's like
I watched
normal golfing.
I've seen you. Yeah.
That's why I love it. It's like one of us.
Who was it that said they had too much pride to hit driver on 17, and so they hit 3-wood and came up short?
Yeah. Somebody did say that. That's hilarious.
Can we talk about Siwoo getting the first hole-in-one ever at British Open there? Did you already cover that?
No, but he did. At least it was with a 3-iron, not his driver.
Yeah.
Well, and then the broadcast said Scotty's shot was more aesthetically pleasing on 17.
Of course they did.
But that the Scotty 3-wood was ridiculous. But
it was. Xander 65 on Sunday. Special, just okay. Where's that rank for you?
I thought it was pretty special. And especially I saw the breakdown of his shot on 11 and the first birdie of the day at that point in time.
Only.
Yeah, completely blind, having to swing it from right to left, putting it that close, just a pure links golf shot, running it up there. And then he went and got it on the back. That's all we asked for from a major champion. It's what we all expected Scotty to do on Sunday, and Xander made it happen.
Yeah. Didn't I see that his average par putt was like 3 feet on Sunday?
2 point something.
2.2 or something, like something.
Yeah.
Acid. Like, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Like, if you have one 20-foot par putt, it throws that whole number up. He didn't.
Yeah.
It
was what to me about the 65 that was so good was that he did it kind of all on the back nine, which was just eating guys alive. So it was, the guy that played the best down the stretch won the golf tournament, which is the way that it should be. Another guy that played good enough down the stretch on Friday, Max Homa, probably had the biggest emotional outburst on the golf course late Friday if you didn't see it. Like full on Tiger double fist pump scream a la Torrey Pines because he made like a 24-footer to make the cut.
I love it. Give us that cut feed, right? That's what everyone in the DFS community keeps asking for. That's emotion we want to see. And love it. Max is getting pumped. He cares. Hell yeah.
I learned something that it's not Tristan Lawrence, it's Tristan Lawrence. Were you rooting for Thirsty down the stretch, or was it more of a get out of here?
For me, it was a get out of here. But on the name, that's Pat Mayo. like because he always calls him thirsty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't mind a guy like that hanging, but I didn't want him to win.
Yeah, I would have struggled with that. You kind of commented on this a little bit. Unreachable par fours. You talked about driver. You talked about driver on par three on 17 for some guys. Shane, I had another spot on here. Shane makes a big deal about not being able to reach 16. I think 16 and 2. I know what you're going to say, Kyle.
Well, I mean, Jordan would take a driver off the deck, right? Like, let's see.
I've seen Jordan has some
boys.
impressive driver off the deck.
Not anymore. Now, since I've had the extra stiff shaft, it's driver off the deck is no longer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys hitting it on par fives. Clearly, though, all of this has got Shane Lowry, who is the guy that should love open conditions the most, grumbling about not needing to roll the ball back because one time a year and one round in one tournament, he couldn't reach a par 4 and 2.
Well, and then Shane, he also, I don't know.
After he shot 78. Like, it just...
Yeah, Shane Lowry annoyed me this weekend when he was complaining about hitting the volunteer as well. The volunteer saved him from the gorse, and he was bitching about that guy the whole for 3 holes about keeping the losing distance on it. It kept you from the gorse, dude.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on Shane. I generally like him, and I would have loved to see him win. But his attitude really kind of sucked on Saturday and Sunday. I really wanted to get to this question. Next Grand Slam. Rory, Scotty, Spieth, Xander, Rahm, or Brooks? Who wins the career Grand Slam first?
Jordan, you go first.
Keep in mind, Rory and Spieth have 1 leg to go. Scotty, Xander, Rahm, and Brooks each have 2 legs to go.
None of them.
Wow, hot take.
Rahm and Brooks won't now in the live world. And I mean, Scotty, British Open, is he gonna get one? That was your hot take last week, right? He's not made for the British Open.
The guy misses some putts. I can't believe the putts he misses.
The answer is Rory, just from pure statistical standpoint. You only need to get 1, right? And I know the Masters, Augusta seems to have this aura over him, but we saw him make the charge on Sunday 2 years ago, and I think Mike started declaring with about on the 3rd hole of the day that Rory was going to win.
It was so close to happening.
And he chipped in on 18, and he got somewhat close. But just from pure, you only need 1. It's him. His game's in a much better situation than Spieth. If I had to go a second one after that, I still go Scotty.
This week changed a lot for me for Xander. Obviously, he won both of his majors so far this year, but I thought him winning the Open was the hardest one for him to get, and that's often the hardest one, I feel like, for a lot of guys, because you just have so much chance in the setup and the conditions. Xander has phenomenal history at the Masters and even more phenomenal history at the US Open. And so it almost feels like those two are the ones that should be quote unquote easier for him to grab at some point if he's going to maintain this hot streak. But I guess it's kind of a ridiculous thing to say for me. It is Xander. It's a bit of recency bias. I think you're probably right. Rory is the easiest one, but dude, it looks off the last handful of times out. I'm gonna spin it one more time, then we'll move on.
It's because he's getting remarried.
To his wife?
Yeah. What would that be? Read back together? Getting back together?
Any disappointment on guys that went big and missed the cut? He had obviously DeChambeau, Rory, Theegala, not that he's a big name. Finau blew up. I mean, plenty of big names that went out on Friday. To me, that's the Open. It's gonna happen.
I agree. I would be disappointed if all the studs made a cut. Let's put it that way. It would be the other way around for me.
Can I ask you one more question about take that down? Who'd you want to win going into Sunday? Who did you want to win? Put your bets aside, just as a golf fan.
I was gonna say, are we doing the Rip Run Good
Nah,
heart brains money thing?
Fan perspective only.
Jordan?
I was just gonna look up the leaderboard and see who all was there. So
You
you go
didn't
for
have
it.
the idea. Come on, after that night out at Red Hot Chili Peppers, I mean,
Yeah.
what time did you wake up on Sunday, Jordan?
8:15.
Yeah.
That was when that's when the first kid woke up. And now I'm ready. Russell Henley. I'd like to see Henley get there. I think he will. I think he'll win a major sometime in the next couple of years.
I'd say if there's gonna be one, the Open would have fit the bill as
like a
older white guys. I actually probably, and it was kind of a boring answer. Probably Scotty, just from the trajectory he's been on this year, and yeah, it would have helped me more DFS wise. But I'm not I wasn't in for Thirsty. Xander, I'm okay with. At least it's not Cantlay, but as close to Cantlay as you get.
No one's saying Billy Ho. Just from the later part of his career, a guy that's grinded for 20 years, and how often is he going to get that close? I wouldn't mind
Billy, but some of Saturday, some of his antics on Saturday when you start expecting to chip everything in, and some of the stuff, but. I wouldn't have minded Billy. I had the bet on Sung Jae, so that would have been nice. But yeah, Lowry turned me off. I was in on Scotty.
All right, let's close out a couple of the RTG items for the Open Championship. Listener League was won by relatively new player Sophisa1314, followed by Random G12 Enad. Someday that person's gonna tweet me and tell me how to pronounce their handle, and then AJ Bentley in third, back-to-back thirds for AJ Bentley. Good job, Kyle. I think the model killed it with our power index. We had Lowry and Burns. Frankly, who I hammered both of those guys in a lot of lineups. Burns ejecting on Sunday definitely cost me a few bucks. But I think we should feel pretty good about the fourth week in a row gaining points to the field with our high-end power index plays. The bad, we had a lot of players that we included in our top plays this week, 25% mentioned share of the expert community and above, 50% of those, 9 out of 18 missing the cut. So, I mean, like you said, it's a wave thing. It's going to happen. And fortunately, our power index definitely carried me to a very profitable week this week.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of the guys we talked about last Tuesday before we got clarity on what the weather was going to look like were some of those guys that took us down, right? Fleetwood, Rory.
Yeah.
Decky didn't end up with a great week, but the risk of doing this on Tuesday sometimes. By Wednesday night, we got to the right place.
20 max wave stacks on Lynx Golf. It was very good for me, I would say. Showdowns, right? Just load up on the I loaded up on Thursday afternoon and Friday morning, and it was a 9x payout on Thursday and slightly profitable on Friday. So it's always something to keep in mind when you have that weather advantage. I'm not saying it's easy money, you can still make bad picks, but that's a pretty high floor.
Fully agree with you. And then the 20 max for the week went with that PM AM wave as well, and that was profitable relative to the full contest picks.
Yeah. All right. Well, Xander wins at -9. Our top expert contributor, John Hazelbauer, PGA Tout on Twitter, his sleepers article, Henley, Connors, Homa, Pavone, all making the cut. Henley carrying his performance in the RTG model. Gutsiest play goes to Len Hochberg, RotoWire, taking Tristan Lawrence, not Pat Mayo, who loves Thirsty, but landmines. There's so many that I'm not even going to try to mention. And that brings me to one and done. I can't believe the number of people that took Xander. I don't know. Do you got this up, Jordan?
I do. We had 3 people take Xander.
Yeah,
Think
how
of
do they
it
still have
quick.
him available?
It was
Cool.
a rough week. I
Cool,
was
$3
saving my
million.
bullet.
Yeah, so 3 people got 3 million. A couple people, Ram and Scheffler, each got 450K, which thank you, Sung J M. For that, all I did was look at last week. I was like, oh, he did pretty good at the Scottish Open. Sure, I'll pick Sunjay. And then only 12 people were in the money this week out of 33 entries. Everyone else missed the cut. So
Yeah.
it was brutal week.
A lot of Bryson.
Yeah,
Bryson,
Bryson,
and a couple Rory.
Fleetwood, Rory, Finau, Hovland. Someone picked Cam Smith, even a Wyndham Clark in there. But yeah, so year to date, a Dingus made the biggest charge up with his 3 million. He's now in second, $1 million behind Champles. Stogie is almost 3 million, and I'm almost 3 million. And then we're getting into the high 3s and 4s going down. So it's coming down to the wire here. Not a lot of good players left.
Jordan, you're in fourth. We have Book, listener, big time listener, golf buddy of the pod, in fifth. We have Mike in sixth, and then Breakfast Ball, who's actually my brother, in seventh, and I'm in 11th. So we're tied up here, and
got it surrounded.
Yeah, so we got it surrounded. That last money spot.
We do.
Let
Have
me
you
ask you
looked
this,
at the pick availability? Not a lot of good choices left.
I mean, we're all in a different spot. I feel very confident in my pick this week.
We still have 7% with Scheffler, 13% with Xander, 15 with Rory, 18 with Ludwig.
I feel like that's a commissioner view. I don't think that's available to us commoners.
Oops. It doesn't really help you, any of us, because we all have.
It helps you.
No, my first pick left, and this is for the whole season. My first pick left is Thagala. Right, I've used all my.
Yeah.
Kyle.
I need to ask you something. So I really debated this. I was gonna go Rahm, and I know I talked him up big time on the pod last week. I was gonna go Rahm, and I had this feeling that he was going to be the obvious click for a lot of people, maybe even people in the not paying attention, because he's so high up there still in the world ranking that he was going to be, hey, the first guy highlighted as I scroll down, I'll take Jon Rahm. I can't take him any other time the rest of the year, so I might as well take him. And so I went to Hideki, who was like my guy, and so I kind of went all in on Hideki, and that backfired over the weekend. Rahm, and I think we ended up having one person take Rahm. I would have loved to have been the second, but did I overthink that one?
I think it depends on your pool. I don't know how tuned in to the Live versus PGA world some of these guys are.
Fair.
And I had already used Rahm. I used Rahm because I tried to go the counter. I thought everyone would use Brooks at the Masters, so I tried to go vice versa with Brooks and Rahm. Mm-hmm. I tried to go zig when others zig, and I went the wrong way. I caught Rahm with everyone else. And he missed a cut.
All right. Well, I think that's a nice extended review of the Open Championship. Let's move on to the 3M Open, the Hometown Open. I'll start with Jordan. You usually have a good take on help the general public understand where Blaine, Minnesota is, because I heard Rick Rungood on his preview was questioning whether or not Minnesota was in the Eastern time zone, trying to figure out the time change for guys coming back from Troon. So, I think people struggle to even place Blaine on the map.
Yeah, even I struggle to place Blaine on the map. I feel like it's somewhere between like New Jersey and maybe like Cleveland, like 20 years ago. It's no one goes to Blaine for anything other than TPC or the National Sports Center to play soccer or hockey. There's no other reason.
Youth sports. That's what you're looking for.
No other reason to go to Blaine. So for all you listeners out there, don't bother.
I mean, it's pretty much Canada, no?
No, because Canada can be pretty and has nice people. This is Blaine.
The name even sounds.
Yeah.
Like
And they're
boring.
they're the Blaine Bengals, and they're light blue and white. They're not even colored like a tiger. There's nothing. No
I
reason.
wish. I mean, why can't we just? Yeah. I mean, we could. I don't feel all that passionate about the 3M Open. I do like going. It's great that Minnesota deserves to have a PGA Tour stop. It's a lot like I know this
Absolutely.
tournament's only been going on for 6 years. The Champions Tour event went on for a lot longer. The community supports golf so passionately. It's a lot like the John Deere. It's a lot like this is just a really important part of the PGA Tour schedule. I just don't think it does Minneapolis St. Paul any justice to have this at TPC Twin Cities in Blaine, Minnesota.
No.
Yeah,
Just to like
Twin
put it in perspective,
Cities,
it's
that's 30 minutes away from either of the Twin Cities.
Yes. It's and the fact that it's called TPC Twin Cities. Like I don't even really care for the Twin Cities as I rock a Twin Cities hat, which is kind of funny. But even the moniker of Twin Cities just feels a little off. So, but here we are. This is where the guys go. They seem to like the event. Lee Hodges won here last year by 7 strokes. But traditionally, I think that for whatever reason, maybe it's the spot in the schedule, this tournament usually does something to kind of boost the star power of young up-and-comers. So we've seen guys like Bryson play well here and Colin and Matt Wolff early in their careers when they were sort of the next generation. And so I look forward, certainly, I know we don't have huge star power here, but I look forward to seeing some of those guys. Maybe it's a Luke Clanton, maybe it's an Akshay Bhatia. Some of these Luke Clanton's 20, but 21, 22, 23-year-olds that are going to be the next echelon of players show up and be really accessible. So, Kyle, you said you had a bunch on the course. The only thing I know is don't hit in the water. What else you got?
Yeah, exactly. Avoid the blow up, specifically off the tee, but then also the second shot, as we witnessed in person with Hideki 3 years ago when we thought he was just gonna, or 2 years ago when he thought he was gonna call it a day and go straight to live, when he hit it into the water. What, 3 times on 18? From a tee standpoint, farther certainly doesn't hurt. But you don't necessarily have to be long. I think that's a fallacy people fall into when you see the Bryson contending the Cameron Champ here. I don't think you can win it off the tee, but you can certainly lose it if you start to get wild. Then really just throw darts and make putts. Long irons are the substantial part of your approach play, 175 to 200, 200 to 225. Lots of holes have 10% or greater birdie percentage and 10% or greater bogey rate. So it plays more like a Florida course with all the water. Lynn Hochberg had a perfect tweet. TPC Twin Cities had the 6th most birdies last year, 6th most eagles, but then also the 5th most double bogeys. So you really got to find those guys that can avoid trouble and score, but avoid trouble to start with. So just looking back at the last 3 winners, you have Lee Hodges last year, killed on approach, slight gain off the tee, but was really strong with the putter. Finau in 22, great on approach, great off the tee, and was just even with the putter. And then Cameron Champ in 2021, little on approach, even off the tee, but then a huge spike week with the putter. So you have 3 different profiles there. So really, you just need to find those guys that have decent form, can avoid the trouble, but then offer the ability to spike from approach or putting.
I'm in. Make a bunch of birdies.
Yeah, and just from a weather perspective, I feel like that's got a little bit of airplay this week, and obviously it's something near and dear to our heart. We have been very, very, very wet, including Sunday and Monday, substantial thunderstorms coming through. Dodged it this morning, but I think all of us can attest to with how we've been playing locally. Courses are playing long. You're not getting much rollout. Balls are really checking out. It's going to play longer than normal out there. The rough's going to be thick. I saw some of the threads today from our buddies over at Golf Pod, Fantasy Golf Pod, saying that the rough is thicker than they've seen it out there before previously. We'll see if they cut it in the next 2 days. But I think that's something to keep in mind. The course is going to play soft and long.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious how much that actually is going to impact scoring. I didn't have it up at the moment what the winning scores for the last couple of years. It's usually high teens, low 20s. Did you have that up, Kyle?
Yeah, so Lee Hodges set the course record last year, but which is kind of surprising, given we were drier last summer, but we had a substantial rainstorm come through Friday, and there was actually a delay out there Friday, and so scoring conditions were very. It was the course played very gettable Saturday and Sunday, especially the winds were down, so there wasn't much of a challenge. The previous 2 years, they've really worked, I felt like, to set it up as tougher conditions, so it didn't play as gettable. I think it was 17 and 14 were the two previous winning scores. But just looking at the forecast now, Saturday we might see some winds, but Thursday and Friday seem to be warm, light winds, sunny. I don't see anything that's going to hinder these guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, you want to run through the model? Who we're keying on?
Yeah,
48 hours in advance.
So far, Tony Finau, 10-5, is garnering the most mentioned share at 58%. Don't think anyone's going to be surprised about that. Past winner here. Also has, I believe, a second place, right? Where he kind of got a little wayward on 18, which is just a great finishing hole, by the way. Love the risk reward down the stretch. Also at 58% mention share is Chan Kim. I'll do a little bit of deeper dive in a moment because that one really surprised me popping up there. And then we have 5 guys so far at 33%: Ben Griffin, Cameron Davis, Keith Mitchell, Luke Clinton, Enrico Hui, all guys that are in, for the most part, pretty solid form, someone who I think is going to be a model darling this week, and Keith Mitchell. So I wanted to highlight Chan Kim real quick, and I'll get your guys' thoughts. So Chan was cut at the CJ Byron Nelson, T40 at the Altfield event at Myrtle Beach, cut at the Charles Schwab, cut RBC Canadian, cut at the Rocket Mortgage, and then T12, T10, T29 the last 3 weeks. 2 of those being Altfield events. So I appreciate the cost savings at 7,600, but I have my concerns. What do you guys think?
I don't know that the stat pro, I mean, other than the fact that I guess there's some correlation on driving accuracy, I don't know that I see the pop putting out of Chan that I want to see in literally any event this year that's telling me that he's filling it up, making birdies. I mean, the T29 at the Barracuda, he got to make birdies at the Barracuda if you want to do anything. But I don't know. I don't know that I see much in any part of his game that tells me that he's there. And 7,600 honestly feels a little steep. A little steep. I got some guys deeper down. I mean, I know the 6K is kind of scrubby this week, but I have some guys down low 7K that I might take instead of Chan Kim at 7,600.
So we're not trusting the model this week, is what you're saying.
I think it's going to even out, and Chan's not going to sit up at the very top on the way out here.
Yeah. See where we end up going tomorrow. I mean, the ball striking is certainly there, but to your point, Mike, the putting has not been. He's only gained strokes at putting at the John Deere, which was 2.7 strokes. This is the only event he's gained in since the Puerto Rico Open in March. These are somewhat benign green complexes, so that does help poor putters. But yeah, I have questions. If Chan Kim at that trajectory was 6,900, 7,000, I think it would be a lot more interesting to me than 7,600.
What choice are you making up top?
Yeah. It's hard to go away from Finau up top, especially in the 10K range. You know, Burns is coming off a very poor Sunday, traveling back across the pond. I would say in general, I could see this as a good course fit for him, but I just don't like that coming off contending and coming back to this environment. Sahith, we've talked about him plenty, the Spiethian nature of his game. He has not had great success here. you commented last year, I think, Mike, you saw him on the range. He even went as far as shaving the beard on Wednesday last year, right before the event. That just tells me he
It's
doesn't
true.
have good vibes about
He
the
did
front side.
inform me that it would be grown back by Friday, so
But that's not a Thursday. That's a whole day he's playing without it. That tells me he's got weird vibes going on about the event. Finau's played well here. I feel like he has a connection to the tournament. 10-5 isn't a crazy price. It's not like we're playing up until 11, so you can still fit in a great lineup. So if I had to pick someone above 10K, I do like Finau. And then if you go down from there, you're gonna probably have to save salaries a little bit. And I want to get into construction after you highlight your guys a little bit too. But I like Taylor Penderith this week, 8,700. He's only at 25% mentioned share thus far, but some of the guys, Matt Gannon, Alex Hunter, that we've been tracking that have been doing pretty well this week. John Hasselbauer, as we just talked about last week, are on him, and just given the form, I think he's a little underrated from a salary perspective. I think there's just good value. He was T5 last week with Barracuda. Not a great showing at the Rocket Mortgage, but did make the cut. But then before that, it was T23 at the Travelers, the TPC River and Highlands. It was 16th at the U.S. Open. He won at CJ Cup at Byron Nelson. He's only had the one cut in that stretch, and that goes all the way back to Valero at in April. So I like myself some Taylor Penderith at 8,700.
Jordan, you gonna get out there and cheer for anyone in particular?
I'm not gonna make it out there, but I always root for David Skins.
He's having a nice season.
He sure is.
What do you like about David Skins?
He's only $6,500, real cheap. I like him cheap, guys.
He missed his last two cuts. Probably not his best form, but he's had a couple of nice finishes this year. The thing that I like about David Skins, not that I'm going to be playing him at 6,500, he has the ability to gain 5+ putting, and so he's had some, like I said, he's had a number of top 20s on the PGA Tour this year. He can get going on approach. He can go on the greens, and Kyle highlighted those are the things that get it done at TPC. So, I'm not thrilled that he missed his last two cuts, but it's not the worst thing, Jordan.
He's gonna do it.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Nope. It's my play.
Jordan's just out for the Skins. You got to take him in one and done now. Kyle.
I don't think he's even listed.
Kyle, the Sam Burns implosion on Sunday, T31 finish at the Open Championship, does nothing to scare me. He has a T7 and a T32. T32 at the 3M Open in 2019 and 2020. So he hasn't played here in a couple of years, but he is back and gaining on the greens, putting in his last 5 events, making the cut in all 5, last missing the cut at the PGA Championship. Really doing it through the bag, besides, albeit an off week at the Travelers Championship, which, all these kind of no-cut signature events, I don't really have a lot of respect for in terms of guys really getting locked in. So I like what I'm seeing out of Sam Burns' game the last month plus. It is, and I'll steal this take, I think, from Gaiman, but it's easy to forgive bad rounds in majors. The pressure is different, the conditions are different, and the pressure is going to be a lot different when Sam Burns shows up as the big gun at the 3M Open, which is just going to say, hey, go out there and fill it up. So if you're really going to get Sam Burns at, say, half the ownership of Finau or the Gala, sign me up. It's got as much win equity. Finau obviously is the lock play. If you can figure out a way, you talk lineup construction to fit some guy that's going to be 30% in there, then I'm all for it.
I think that's a good
yeah.
I can see that take. I think you're certainly taking on more risk and would do that from a cash perspective, but I can see that strategy from a GPP style contest.
I think I'm trying to figure out what's in the Austin Eckroat profile that tells me that I should be playing him this week. He currently is our top power index play at 7,200. Austin, pretty awful pretty awful putting most of the year, all the time, just consistently losing. He's had a couple of good weeks that have correlated to good finishes. Obviously, he won the Cognizant Classic in Florida earlier this year. Highly accurate driver of the golf ball, which again, like if that is can rely on, but I don't know that I see him going and piling up the birdies at 3M. So not super interested in Austin at this time. Hopefully we see some different contributions come in. I think the guy that I got to make a choice. I got to make a choice because there are kind of 4 players with the Minnesota connections, and I'm going to have to play at least one of them. So your choices, and they're kind of all sit in the same, 3 of them sit in the same spot in the salary board, but Hoagie, we could go with Tommy Tables, grew up in Fargo, North Dakota, won the Minnesota State Open back in the day, 2010, 2011-ish, Pine de Palm champion as well. Talk more about that in a couple weeks. Eric Van Rooyen, University of Minnesota grad. I actually see a lot of a lot of takes for Eric Van Rooyen this week, and again, another guy that can easily pop 5-6 strokes gain putting. Tends to be fairly long, fairly accurate. So could see Eric Van Rooyen this week. Could also sign up Maverick McNeely. Maverick McNeely vacationed in northern Minnesota one time. I heard. I don't actually know that, but my wife saw him as when she was like a 13-year-old on a canoe at a resort in northern Minnesota. So Maverick McNeely. I think Scott was trying to ground his kids a little bit to get out of the Silicon Valley lifestyle. So he brought young Maverick Colt in Dakota up to the Fair Hills Golf Resort in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, a time or two, just to kind of get away from it all. That's all I know. And Troy Merritt.
Okay, go continue. I didn't want to cut you off on your Minnesota.
So Troy Merritt grew up Minnesota, Spring Lake Park grad, went to Winona State for a little bit before going out to Boise. He's further down. I don't even have his salary up here, 6,300 or something like that. Pretty trash season for Troy Merritt. He flashed at the Rocket Mortgage, flashed at the CJ Cup, but other than that, a lot of red on his stat profile. So I think if I have to make a choice, it's probably EVR for me. I'd love to say Tables this week. Tommy has had some decent finishes here. 1, 2, 3 top 25s over the last 5 years. I don't know. Just hasn't been Tommy his T3 at the Travelers.
Yeah, there's another gopher there this week as well.
Did I miss one?
Van Rooyen?
Don't know him. To do some
I think he just graduated in May. So I don't know what tour he's playing on or whatnot, but he must have gotten an exemption of some kind. Because I was looking up EVR because he's actually playing in the Olympics also for South Africa.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Kyle, you had a question.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, so Tables had a very Tables week last week, gained ridiculously off the approach and was just straight awful everywhere else. But then you did bring up Austin Eckroat, and we're questioning maybe why he's getting some love. I think people there are making the Florida connection a little bit. You talked about the Cognizant where he won, gained 9 strokes ball striking and popped with the putter that week, 3.6 with the putter. Was okay at API, okay at the Players, and then we had a run of not impressive golf, but a couple pops every now and then. All of a sudden, the PGA gained 6.4 with the putter and was solid in ball striking, and finished 18th. And then at the Travelers, 7th in 7 strokes ball striking, but straight awful with the putter. Lost 5 strokes. T27. So I think I see Eckroat as a good GPP style play, because you're hoping that ball striking stays in there, which he's been fairly consistent with, and he's shown those ability to have the pop putting weeks out of nowhere, and you're just hoping you catch one of those. But I would not click him from a cash perspective. I'm with you there. But
great GP play pay.
Yes, yeah, he's definitely on my GPP radar. Other ones that are on my radar this week, Mikey Thor, as we've called him on the pod now. I'm intrigued there because I feel like he's someone that has gotten forgotten about, but quite fittingly so. He's been straight awful the last 2 weeks out. 61st to the Barracuda. He was cut at the High School Championship, Keen Trace, right after the T2 at John Deere Classic. But he was 10,003, 10,004 those last 2 times. Now he's back to $7,700, a lot more suitable price. And I think he's burned enough people. You may get a little bit of a break there. So I don't mind Mikey Thor. And then Emiliano Grillo is someone to keep an eye on. Ulrich Landon Selinsky highlighted him. He is 8,500 this week, and he's just the type of guy that kind of pops up at courses of this nature. I would say from time to time where you need the good ball striking, and then you're just hoping to find someone that can get out with the putter because normally he's very bad with the putter. He's been very bad most of this year. But his ball striking does have quite a bit of green. So if you're going to look for somebody else to plug in from a GPP standpoint, not going anywhere near that from a cash perspective, but I could see clicking on Grillo.
I believe Grillo owns. Does he own the API in 2023 when he finished first in strokes gained ball striking and last in strokes gained putting? So he has the ability to do that. I do appreciate his 10th, 2nd, and 3rd at the 3M Open in the last 4 years. Kyle, I have one more guy that I want to highlight, mostly because I want to know, when can I be early on Daniel Berger? 7,000. He withdrew from the Barracuda last week. Cut at the ISCO, cut at the John Deere, cut at the Rocket Mortgage. But he was T21 at the U.S. Open. Where did that come from?
I'm glad you brought it up. A little foreshadowing to maybe something later in the show there, Mike.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the name game. Jordan, you'd be surprised that you won.
Luke Masaveo, or whatever his last name is. I saw him on Saturday, and I was like, he made the cut.
he was very good. Yeah, he was
29 total points because he completely fell apart. But
he did. He was in the running for low am. I tried to bet him in a showdown 20 max hard on Saturday, and that's when he started backing it up. But yes, Luis Masaveu helps you to a name game win. You're 3rd on the year. You are still well behind. Probably almost no chance to get back here. But we'll see. Maybe keep it going.
It's like Kyle in one and done.
I got a chance. I got
I'm the commissioner. I can go see who you have left as picks. I don't think you do have a chance.
Wow. That's the beauty of it. I'm going to be off the radar and catch 5 runners in a row. I did the math. Technically, everyone, I think 25th and up is still alive. Anyway, go ahead.
Of course you did the math. Kofi did the math. But Jordan, I took the honors of the name game since I know you're hustling out in the golf course. This one was easy for me. What's the name of the golf tournament this week?
3M Open.
Mm-hmm. 4 teams, 3 guys, exactly 12 players with a first name that starts with M.
So we have 3 M's on each team. I like it.
We have 3 M's on each team. Team 1, Maverick McNeely, Max Grazerman, Martin Trainer for 21.8. Team 2, Mackenzie Hughes, Martin Laird, and Matthew Neesmith for 21.4. Team 3, Michael Thorbjornsen, Michael Kim, Maddie Schmid for 21.8. And Team 4, Mac Meissner, Matt Wallace, Matt Kuchar for 21.6. I wanted to be a little more coy with the names. It could get like Mav, Mac, and Mackenzie together, but try to keep the salaries a little more even. So the listeners, Kyle, you usually got an angle for the listeners. Anyone stick out to you that you think narrative-wise they would gravitate towards?
Well, the only person we've talked about is Mikey Thor. He's with Michael Kim and Maddie Schmid. So that was my initial lean, but the listeners also tied with me. So do we want to give them that one?
Oh, you think they should go 2? I didn't even look that close. We had a tie? What are you talking about?
No, they're tied with me on the season. Listeners and me are
Oh,
9. You're at 7, and Jordan's at 3.
I'll tell you what. You should.
Okay, never
Do you
mind.
want
We're
team
giving
3?
No, I'm gonna. Do I get to go next? No, we're not giving the
Oh, you're right.
listeners.
I get to go next. You're right.
Yeah. So never mind. We're giving. No one wants Matt Kuchar, Matt Wallace, Matt Kuchar, and Matt Meisner. Sorry, listeners.
All
You're
right.
getting it.
Okay. I like Matt Meisner a little bit. He had a nice week last week, but go for it because I want I want the most expensive guy in the field, $8,300 Maverick McNeil. Give me team 1.
All right, then I'll take team 3. Take Mikey Thor. Put my money where my mouth is. Although Michael Kim had the injury scare last week, but he says he's good now.
So I get the terrible players.
You get Mackenzie Hughes. He had decent last week. He would have gained 62 points.
Don't love Martin Laird, but Jordan, you'll be fine. You'll find a way.
I'll find a way. Take you guys down.
Kyle, what line did you get Daniel Berger
at? Thanks for asking. 120-1, Mike. He's been absolutely horrible, as you highlighted, since the U.S. Open, but Daniel Berger, he's won before. It's 120-1. Yeah, with the putter. Sure. I also took Taylor Pendrith. That would not surprise you. 35-1, 2 units. Adam Hadden won 45. That just felt like a good number in this field. And then Sam Ryder had a decent appearance last week. Just seems to pop randomly at courses of this nature from time to time. 110. Again, thought it was a good number. So that's the card this week. Also have those guys first round leaders. I have one more unit to put out there some way, shape, or form. I'll probably do like a top 40 bet or something. Stand by. I'll tweet that out.
Neil Shipley, Carson Young, in addition to Daniel Berger, 100 to 120-1. I like those other guys too at that number. I mean, I know it's crazy to think Neil Shipley or Carson Young maybe walking away with a 3M, but maybe even go like top 10. You're still getting plus 850 or so on those guys. Neil's put again a nice season since turning pro. The last thing I'll say is, are you buying Luke Clanton at 28-1?
Like Luke Clanton, but not this week. It's been cooked too far. That's a well done egg, sir.
Yes, I will say in the model that I've put together, I got Luke Clanton at I screwed this up. I have Luke Clanton at fairly high in. It would help if I actually had this up. I have him as first in birdie or better percentage, third in weighted strokes gained total over the last 32 rounds, fifth in driving accuracy, and ninth in fairways gained. So you just think about some of those statistics that you really want on the 3M Open. He's top 10 in a lot of them. But I agree with you. I think price point is a little bit too high for a kid that's still going to be a junior in college.
One other person we should really talk about real quick is Keith Mitchell. Since he is popping the model, we obviously have him in the Calcutta, so we have extra reasons to maybe avoid him from the DFS streets. He's had back-to-back missed cuts, but he has 3 top 5s or better here. He's only gained once with the putter at the Valero Open since April. But otherwise, he's an absolute model darling for everything else you're looking at here. Weighted strokes gained, so strokes gains and against the similar field, he's 4th. He is 45 and 52nd at approaches 175 to 200 and 200 to 225. He's really good here at stroke gains TPC Twin Cities. The comp course I like the best is probably PGA National. Does very well there. Opportunities gained, he's really good. So a lot of a lot of people have him as their number one model play of the week. But can Keith make a putt? I don't know.
This is
fine. He can win. Fine, he can win. That's fine. I'm fine if Keith Mitchell wins this week.
Who's gonna win first, Keith Mitchell or Aaron Wise, Mike?
Who's gonna play a golf tournament first? Or
can't believe you're like, I can't believe you ended up with Aaron Wise, Mike.
It's fine. We're above water on that to some extent. I'm trying to get out on Friday morning to the tournament. I think I'll be able to make that happen. Kyle, you still eyeing Thursday?
I don't know if Thursday's gonna happen. Maybe Saturday morning.
Okay.
You could take at least one of them. You could take Callan out there. He's big enough. You could go have some fun.
Oh yeah, he would have a blast. But I'll make it out at some point in time. So if you're out there, let us know. Hopefully one of us, will be there. Can't miss it.
Try to fire.
Yeah. It's our event.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So I am looking forward to that. Usually the Thursday, Friday rounds early in the morning, you can get pretty close to the players. So I have not checked out the tee times yet. So I'll be marking down who me and one of the young kids are going to go out and follow for a bit. So reach out to us on Twitter if you want some inside takes. Otherwise, you can follow us at RTG Podcast on Twitter if you're not already doing that. Our Reading the Green YouTube channel, as well as any major podcast platform. Tournament previews every Wednesday. We'll be back in a week with the results of the 3M Open and preview the Webb Simpson Invitational Wyndham Championship. See ya.